Okay, in this video I'm going to show you my strat for fighting the Gunsmoke boss Chaos using my Hydro Mix team. And I'm going to use this is also using the chain current. This matters because you need a electric debuff, so I'm using Endorus. However, if it's pretty much any other daily buff, I would substitute Endorus with Macchiato. That might be another video later on though. So we'll go ahead and use Endorus, Nikketa, Tololo, and Yuhi. And Endorus is V0, Nikketa is V6, Tololo is V6, Yuhi is V3, and then I'm going to borrow someone's V6 Springfield. Alright, let me just position my units where I like them. Yeah, I like putting Nikketa here because she's going to be getting the crate that's going to spawn over here twice throughout the fight. And I like putting my Tololo up here because she's got a lot of movement since she's got so many actions. Alright, let's start. Alright, first I'll start with Yuhi. I'm going to put her here and use her ultimate. Use her first step. Doesn't matter who you pick, it's an AoE. Then I use her skill 1 on the boss. And then I use step 2, doesn't matter again since I had used her ultimate, it's an AoE. Then I'm going to move my Springfield here. Now, the boss has a mechanic where it marks an AoE with the unit with the highest HP being the center of the AoE. And since my Springfield this Springfield I'm using is going to have the highest HP, I want to put her right here, and I'm going to put all my units around her because I want my units to get hit by the AoE so they can get the debuffs from it, which can be converted into buffs. So I'll go ahead and use the ultimate. Then I'll use her skill 2 on Tololo so she can get shared telepathy. Then I'm going to move Endorus right behind Springfield. Use her skill 1 next to Springfield here. And since I had used the key where she gets an extra 3 Confectus Index at the start, and it uses 3 to summon a turret, I can summon another one, which the max you can have on the field is 2. I'm going to put it in front of that one. Then I'm going to end the turn. Then I'm going to put my Nikketa right next to Yuhi here. Use her skill 2. Then I'm going to use her skill 1, which is her summon. I'm going to put it right here in front of Yuhi, because I want to leave the 1 square directly in front of him open for Tololo. I'm going to move Tololo down, use her skill 1. Since she has shared telepathy, she's going to get 3 attacks this turn. Use her skill 2. Then I'm going to use her ultimate. Now positioning him this way, since the boss puts a buff / debuff called Battle Thirst on the closest and the furthest units, both Tololo and Nikketa are the ones going to get those stacks, which is going to increase the damage they take, but also increase the damage they do. And since they're my 2 biggest damage dealer, I want them to have that status. So I'm going to start with Yuhi. Use her skill 1. Pretty much that and her ultimate's the only skills I use on her throughout the whole fight, honestly. And I'm going to go ahead and use her skill or step 2 on Tololo for 1. She doesn't have the buff, as you can see from the shiny ground underneath them, for increased crit damage. But I want to have 1 step of this Passionate Resonance, so that way whenever her best dancer kicks off, it acts as an AoE, and it's based on the steps that you use, and that will cleanse any buffs that are on any of my units at the time. Okay, and now I'm going to use Springfield's skill 2 on Nikketa, and the whole fight I'm just going to go back and forth between Tololo and Nikketa with this skill 2 on Springfield. Okay, and then I'll use Endorse's skill 2, which is pretty much the skill I'm going to be using almost the entire fight. Okay, and then I'm going to move Nikketa to go get this chest, but instead of picking it up, I'm just going to use her skill 2. And the reason why I do this is the attack buff from these crates lasts for 2 turns, and since it's considered an extra action like Tololo that uses up one of the 2 turns, I'd rather have it carry over into the next round so I can get more of her counterattacks in on the boss with the increased attack from the crate here. So I'll pick it up. I'm going to move her back here into the AoE, and then I'm going to use her ultimate. Okay, and then I'm going to move Tololo to this crate, but I'm not going to pick it up. The reason why is because, like I said before, the extra attacks, extra actions, they count as turns. And I'd rather the attack buff apply to her skill 2 and her ultimate, which will have not only extra attack buffs, but they're all going to do more damage. So we're going to go ahead and move her there and use her skill 1. Then we're going to pick up the crate, and we're going to move her back in front of the boss, use her skill 2. And then we're going to use her ultimate. Okay, and that attack had applied the debuff that one debuff I was referring to before, called Depressive Mentality. However, if it's cleansed, all ally units gains phase guidance for 2 rounds, which is when dealing phase damage, critical damage dealt is increased. Can be stacked, considered a buff, cannot be cleansed. And there is no limit to that as far as I know. Alright, so we're going to start with Yuhi, skill 1. And since I'd already applied the step 2 on Tololo last time, I'm just going to use the step 1, and this time we're going to put it on Nikketa. And it's an AoE because Best Dancer will kick in. All the debuffs are cleansed. We all have 8 stacks of phase guidance. Alright, and now we go to Springfield, and since it's the 3rd turn, we're going to use skill 2 on Tololo. Just to make it easy to remember, odd rounds you buff Tololo, even you buff Nikketa. And we have Endorse. We're going to use her skill 2 on the boss. Okay, now This time we're going to have Tololo go first because Nikketa still has the buff from the crate. Ammo refill 2, increased damage by 20%. If I have her go before Tololo, once her action ends, she loses the buff, and her counterattacks actually, I believe the counterattacks would still apply here, but we're going to go ahead and do this with Tololo. The boss will counterattack Tololo, and then Nikketa will counterattack the boss, and she'll have the buff. I also forgot about this one debuff the boss has. Counter shock. I believe you need at least every 3 units he gets 1 stack of this defense down debuff. I'm trying to remember which attack it was. That'd probably be on the next turn. I can show you. We'll go ahead and move Tololo here. Actually, I don't know why I'm saying that. I could just pull this up here. I think it's this one. Yes. This skill here, Edge Crush, deals an AoE physical damage equal to 80% of attack to all enemies with 5 tiles. This unit and gains 1 stack of solid stronghold. This is why you want the units close to the boss. For 2 turns, when the attack hits an enemy target, removes solid stronghold. For every 3 enemies hit, 1 stack of counter shock. So the reason why this works, why it has 2 stacks, is because of all this. I mean, you just need 1 summon. If I could get 1 more, then it'd be 3 stacks. Unfortunately, there isn't any other summon units that we could possibly throw in here other than Papa Shaw, and honestly, not worth it. Alright, so back to here. Since she did her first action and already is on the second one, now I'm going to pick up her ammo crate. We're going to move her as far down as I can. Skill 2. I should also get Nikketa to counterattack. Then we'll move Tololo down close to where her original position was. We'll end her turn here. Her third action, we'll move her into position and use her ultimate. End her turn, and now Nikketa's going to use her skill 2. And then her ultimate. Make sure, yep, I do have the current chain current. What chain current does is if the enemy is afflicted by an electric debuff, increase critical damage against them by 25%. So it's definitely helping out my score quite a bit. So we use Yuhi's ultimate. Then we're going to use her step 2 on Tololo. Again, there's no debuff to cleanse here, but it'll add the one of the 3 steps for whenever she does Best Dancer. That'll then apply as an AoE to the whole party or team. We'll use her skill 1. And then we'll use step 1. No, wait, did she just use Best Dancer? I think she did. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter what step you use. That's right. Not best. Because I used her ultimate. You could use the first step twice in that case. So we're going to use Springfield's ultimate. And then we're going to use her skill 2 on Nikketa. And then we're going to have Endorse use her skill 2 again. Now she lost her positive charge buff, but I don't want to put it back up just yet. So we're just going to go ahead and use her skill 2. Okay, and then we're going to use Nikketa, skill 2. And then her ultimate. And we're going to have Tololo use her skill 1. In the turn. Her skill 2. In the turn. And then her ultimate. Now, you probably saw the boss was getting a buff after so many attacks. And I believe, I wonder if it's listed in here. No. It's here. Yeah. Every 5 instances of face damage taken gains 1 stack of face dissipation for 2 turns, which means face damage taken is reduced by 10%, can be stacked. If this effect is cleansed, gains exposed weakness for 2 turns, so it goes from a buff to a debuff where damage taken is increased by 3%, maximum of 10 stacks, so extra 30% damage. Now I have on Tololo a key, that's actually one of her own keys, called Galactic Cruise. When exploiting a phase weakness, cleanse 2 buffs from target before attacking. So I've been cleansing that buff with her. Every time she attacks, she cleanses it if it comes up, and builds more stacks of that debuff. Okay, so Yuhi is going to use her skill 1. And then we're going to use step 2 on Tololo. And then Springfield's going to use her skill 2 on Tololo. Then here's where I use Endorse's ultimate, because positive charge lasts for 3 turns. If I use it this turn, it'll be up for the rest of the fight. This will also cleanse the debuff off the turrets and everyone else, except for Kulich here, which is Nikketa summon. Okay, so then we'll move Nikketa over here. Again, we'll use her skill 2. Have her pick up the chest, put her back next to Yuhi, have her use her ultimate. You can see the stacks now. He's got 3 stacks of his face dissipation. So now we got Tololo. I'm going to put her over the chest, not pick it up, just use her skill 1. Make sure the turn is ended so it doesn't lose a turn from the buff from the crate. Get all these buffs here. Then pick it up, put her back in position, use her skill 2. Then end the turn and use use the ultimate. End the turn. Then we'll have Yuhi use her skill 1. And then we're going to use step 1. I'm going to put it on Nikketa this time. And should act as an AoE. Not that anyone needs it. Then we're going to use Springfield's skill 2 on Nikketa. Then Endoris is going to use her skill 2. And then we're going to have Tololo, since Nikketa still has that crate buff. We're going to have Tololo move up toward the other one here, use her skill 1. Move her closer to the crate, end her turn. Have her pick it up. Move as far down as she can go, use her skill 2. Move her as close as possible to her position that I want her in, end the turn. Put her in front of the boss, use the ultimate. End the turn. Then Nikketa use her skill 2. Then use her ultimate. And I almost actually killed the boss on the last turn. So we'll use Yuhi's ultimate. Then we use step 2 so we can cleanse the debuff and get our more stacks of critical damage, I believe it is. Yeah. We use her skill 1, and this might actually kill it. Now, if the boss is still alive, after using her skill 1, you use her step 1, then use Springfield's ultimate, then her skill 2 on Tololo, then Endoris would use her skill 2, and then you would use Nikketa's skill 2 into her ultimate, and then you would use Tololo's skill 1, skill 2, ultimate. The boss is going to die before I could show you all that, which is why I just told you how I would do it if the boss was still alive. So, we'll finish off the boss here. And that is my strat with my Hydro Mix team here. Well, thanks for watching.